This is the Sound Squatch Podcast. Stand out from the crowd and live a more successful life through the use of creative audio. Now your host, me.
My name's Ian Sturgeon, and I am the founder and creator of SoundSquatch.com. It's a place where you can go and download royalty-free music and sound effects to use in whatever project you're working on, whether that's radio, podcasting, or digital marketing videos, whatever you have in front of you that needs a royalty-free music track. But it's fun to make some of your own stuff sometimes too. And so I thought today we would talk a little bit about how to make a very simple piece of sound design. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to...
Nobody says adieu anymore.
I know nobody says adieu anymore, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we're going to get started with maybe the simplest sound effect to make, which is a wipe, okay? And you can make a wipe out of any sound that has a reverb tail after it, right? So if you hit a snare drum and there is that, that sound, that echo after you hit a snare drum, that will work. If you hit a cymbal, that will work. Or if you don't have any of that stuff, here's what else will work. All right. Honestly, if I was stranded out in the middle of the desert, I could still make sound design. So we're going to take that sound and we are going to make a wipe out of it. And then we're also going to mess around with some other things and maybe change the sound of it and mess around with it a little bit. All right. But first, we're going to take that sound and we're just going to reverse it. All right, so already we have this cool little wipe sound. It sounds a little like somebody's making noise with their mouth still, though, which is not what we want, probably. So we're going to just start messing with the pitch a little bit. First, I'm just going to lower the pitch of it. All right, so it already sounds a little bit more like wind than someone messing around with their microphone and making sounds with their mouth. But we can do more with this. So, and if in case you haven't noticed, we're already employing some of the concepts we've learned from previous episodes, and we're going to do that a little bit more here. We're going to mess with the stereo effects. So we're going to make a copy that's the exact same copy and pan one to the left and one to the right and do different things to either side of the channels. So the first thing you'll notice is that I've already staggered the left and the right channels slightly. So they're doing slightly different things at slightly different times. And now I'm just going to mess with the pitch of the left channel. And then I'm not going to do anything to the right-hand channel. But since the right-hand channel is panned all the way to the right, it's the last sound you'll hear, and it'll sort of feel like the wipe is moving to your right. All right, so now on the right-hand channel, I want to add some texture that's not on the left-hand channel. So every few little hundredths of a second or so, I'm going to silence some of the audio so it sounds gritty instead of a nice, smooth, airy sound. Okay, so they sound both of them sound different. But it's a little too different, so I want to kind of tie both of those sounds together. So I'm going to take that original, slightly lower sound, and I'm going to put that one straight down the middle and then have these two stereo things on either side. So now, if you're keeping track, we have 3 layers to this effect. So there you go. We've made a wipe, and we've used nothing more than our voice, and nobody would ever hear that sound and say, wait a minute, that sounded like somebody made a sound into a microphone, reversed it, stretched one side, put the texture on the other side, layered 3 versions of it together, and panned a bunch of different things and all that good stuff, right? It just sounds like a cool little sound that you would use to transition between things. But it does still sound like more like air or whatever. So I figured we'd mess around with it just a touch more and add another sound that can be readily available at anybody's house. So what I have here is a paint tray because my son's painting his bedroom today. So I'm just going to bang on this thing and get some reverb out of it. Sounds killer, right? Well, not yet, but it's going to sound really cool once we reverse it. And I'm going to use some compression to boost up the lower levels a little bit. If you don't know how to do that yet, we'll get there. All right, so that sounds pretty cool. And we're going to take this sound that is unlike all the other sounds that we've made, all those airy sounds, and we're going to layer them all together. All right, so there's a slightly different sound in this piece than there was when it was just all air, but it's still not quite as pronounced as I want. So I'm going to stretch that paint tray sound and lower the pitch of it and layer it in there. And I'm also going to take out one of the layers of air so you kind of really hear that metallic sound in it in the wipe. And I'm also going to make sure everything sort of moves to the right so the sound effect sort of moves. Here it is. Haha, we've made a wipe, or at least you've listened to me make a wipe. So if that got a little too deep for you, that's okay. The moral of the story is take anything that has sort of a reverb tail or an echo after it and reverse it, and you've got a wipe. It's going to sound pretty cool, all right? So mess around with this stuff. Play around with stretching things and adjusting pitch and adding texture and all that stuff if you want to. But at the very least, turn stuff around and it sounds pretty cool sometimes. That's the moral of the story. That's it for me. I don't have anything more to say about this. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at ian@soundsquatch.com or give me a call at 303-902-2834. Or you could just wander around the forest and see if you can see the Sound Squatch, ask him a couple questions, whatever you want to do. But I'm done here. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to the Sound Squatch podcast. Download free sound design and see what else the Sound Squatch has to offer at soundsquatch.com.